Well, welcome back and happy fall. If you haven't figured it out by now, it is definitely the fall. We are definitely in the tail end of the 2022 IHSA regular season as we are fast approaching week 9. And you know what that means. It means this big fella to my right is very happy and excited because we are on the verge of state playoffs and looking forward to everything that comes with IHSA state playoff fever here in the state of Illinois. Looking forward to it. Everybody, I'm EDGYTIM along with this guy. You know him, you love him, Coach Matt Leng, and we are here for the Third and Leng podcast this week. Again, recording this on Tuesday night. We usually do this on Wednesday, but, Coach Leng, very busy individual. We're just blessed that he's gifted us these moments with him so that he can share his knowledge with all of us. And absolutely blessed to have you here, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for your blessing, Father Tim.
So a lot going on, obviously. I think I just mentioned last week about how things had been kind of pretty status quo, and we finally had, I don't know, maybe it was the great equalizer on Friday night. A little bit of rain made some things interesting, changed some results. We definitely had a little bit of shakeup. Some of the top-ranked teams, we saw some top-ranked teams lose in just about every class. So we have that to look forward to. We've got some other teams to look forward to. A lot of teams, a lot of talk, Matt, as you've heard and I've heard, about cut lines and where classes are going to fall and where teams are going to fall. Nothing that you wouldn't expect this time of year, my friend. It's all there.
Yeah, it's neat. I know, like we're just talking about with 1A football, like what that cut line is going to be for the number. Also too, just when they do the 1 through 16, for all these classes, like where are some of these teams going to go at?
Yep.
Where's Prairie Central going to go out in 3A? Where's Ridgeview Lexington going to go out in 1A? Arthur Lovington, a sleeper team that we'll talk about later. They're going to go 1A or 2A. What's Wilmington going to be this year, and where are they going to be at? And just it's fun to talk about. I know last Friday night, I was in Rantoul watching my daughter cheer in a miserable rainstorm, and last night I was coaching in a snowstorm. We had snow in Olympia because we were playing Auburn for a JV football game. It was so cold, it was unbelievable, and tonight was cold. But by Friday and Saturday, it's going to be 75 degrees. So there you go. So it's we're looking forward to this incredible time where everybody is just anxiously awaiting their selection and their news, and communities and everybody, and T-shirt makers and sports departments, and everybody's getting ready to make their run in this wonderful time of the year for Illinois. And we get to talk about it, so we're lucky also.
Yep, I mean, playoff pairing shows, teams get-togethers, it's all there, and it's all fun, and it's a great night for high school football. So again, just to remind everybody, playoff pairings are out on Saturday evening. I've been putting out, IHSA put a press release out earlier this week. If you go to my website, go to my free message board, we got the story link there. It is a new network this year, I guess we'll call it, up here in the Chicagoland area. It's WCIU, which will carry obviously the live playoff pairing show. We'll also cover the IHSA state finals this year as well. This year for the pairing show, what we did last year, the actual pairings will be released and announced from 8 to 9 o'clock on pairings night. It's 7:30 to 8. If you go online and watch, go to IHSA.org or NFHS Network. We do a half-hour pre-show, and then we do an hour-and-a-half post-show. So I will be in the IHSA headquarters with Jim Taylor. Matt, you know Jim Taylor. Everyone knows Jim Taylor.
Yep.
Really the voice of Western Illinois for sure. And Steve Susi and I will be along with you from the IHSA headquarters doing that show. So lots to look forward to on this weekend. Obviously, ton of games, big games on Friday, as well as the state playoff pairings on Saturday night. So looking forward to being a part of that and coming to you guys and bringing you everything that we have coming. So that takes care of that. Matt, we're going to go right into 8A. And again, we're going to give a major shout out to our guy, Jordan Hotman from Decatur LSA, who he's just gone crazy now, and I love it.
Yeah.
He's providing us tons of information on 8-man football, so we want to get that out there to get everybody an overview of where things stand, some of the top teams, some top players. And again, Jordan, you're the best. Matt, we're going to bring Jordan in on this when we start talking.
Yeah, no.
He'd be a great guest, and just to throw some things back and forth. So I definitely will work on lining that up. But Matt, I know you got a lot to get to tonight. So let's start in 8A. And I know you've got some teams, some top teams to watch, and some names to watch as well out of the 8-man field.
Well, I just think it's going to be really interesting, with there's St. Thomas More takes on Milledgeville this week, and and Jason Kirby with West Central has a big game, and Milford Cissna Park has a big game. So along with Decatur, like those 4 or 5 teams are all kind of vying for those top 2 or 3 seeds. But make no mistake, I think this St. Thomas More team with Bumba is a team to watch out for. Yep. And there's just some really good football players. I think Milford has probably one of the best linebackers in the state in Mason Blank. Just some sleeper teams that you might want to think about. Blue Ridge, who very much like a lot of these 1A teams, just couldn't field an 11-man football team. And now they're able to run the ball, and they're really stingy on defense. Pawnee, they platoon all of their players, so they have a good number of players out for 8-man. And then Cambridge, we talked about them earlier in the year when they kind of took a hit on the shoulder there with Coach Kirby beating them in that big game, a battle between Jason Kirby and Pat Elder. But Cambridge might have one of the better leaders and quarterbacks, and Kyle, his name is Riley Couture, quarterback. He runs that wing T offense that Pat Elder ran really well at Richmond Burton, and so I think this whole thing with 8-man, it's going to be fun because we got some really good players and some really good teams, and Decatur is right up there. West Central, really good. St. Thomas More, just all of these teams are going to be, right up there at the top. And I think 16 teams, it's neat, it's unique, but it's hard-nosed football.
Yeah.
And it's going to be. It's not going to be arena football. Yeah, there's going to be maybe a couple blowouts here and there, and you're going to have some high-scoring games, but you're going to have some slobber knocking, jaw breaking. I hate to say that word, but get underneath the chin strap in a condensed field. We'll call it how it is. It's a little bit shorter field, but the aggressiveness and the football is football. Run the ball, play great defense, and see what happens.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait, Matt, to see it in person for sure. So we'll go over again compliments to our friends at NUICfootball.com for we use their 8-man ranking. So this week the top 10 according to NUICfootball.com. West Central at number 1, Decatur LSA at number 2, both 8-0. Amboy is number 3 at 7-1. MCP at number 4. Polo at 5, STM, St. Thomas More at 6, Milledgeville at 7, Ridgewood at 8, Hiawatha at 9, and Pawnee rounds out the top 10 ranking in 8A according to NUICfootball.com. So Matt, again, thanks to Jordan, again, giving us updated, and we'll continue to feed you as much information as we can on 8-man football and stay on top of it.
Keep your ears out for that Milledgeville team and that STM team. And we're going to get Jordan on here, but West Central is right up there. Again, I'm going to repeat myself, but it's exciting to talk about. It's neat, it's fun, and it's here, and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So Matt, we're going to dive into Class 1A, and I'll go through the top 10 this week. Definitely some upsets, and again, we're recording this on Tuesday, so we still don't have AP until tomorrow. But according to last week rankings, there were a few upsets for sure. Shelbyville, Matt. They were ranked number 5 last week in 1A, according to AP. They lost to St. Teresa 41-14, again, losing to the top-ranked team in Class 2A. So, again, no shame in that game. But, again, the first loss of the season for Shelbyville. Also, the number 8 team ranked last week in AP, Greenfield Northwestern. I'm sorry, I can't even read my own notes. Wow, I don't know why. I'm going to have to double check that, man. I'm sorry. I can't even read my own handwriting anymore. Number 10, St. Bede. St. Bede lost to Spring Valley Hall, man, 42-27. Huge win for Spring Valley Hall, man. That gets them to 4-4. They're one game away from getting in as a 5-4 at large. What a huge win that was for Spring Valley Hall. And St. Bede, unfortunately, now probably dropping out of the top 10. That's their second straight loss this week, over the last 2 weeks.
Well, Spring Valley Hall has had a lot of great tradition over the years. Here's a story program with I'm trying to think of his name. It was Gary Vincenzi. Was that his name? They used to run the program there. I'm trying to think of the head coach that ran all those years. And good win for Spring Valley Hall. They're right on the doorstep. And then back to Shelbyville. I will just say this. I watched a lot of that game where they played ST or St. Teresa, rainy night, great turf, great stadium, but the stars came out and shined really, really bright for St. T. And Christian Harper is a football player, Jeremy Walker, both track guys. And then they're led up front on their line with Bryson Dion, Cameron Napick, and then Noah Sloan. Sloan's about 6'3", 250. They can move people. They do a great job. Defensively, they fly around the ball. Britt Miller, the great Illinois linebacker that played on the Rose Bowl team, Britt the Hit Miller. He's the defensive coordinator, and of course, St. T's led by the legendary coach Mark Ramsey. So, Shelbyville has nothing to be ashamed of. They have a great quarterback and receiver combination. Will they be 1A? If they are, watch out. They'll be a sleeper team. If they're 2A, they're still going to be pretty solid and tough to beat.
Yeah, no doubt. And there are some big games coming up this week. The final regular season, Week 9 in Class 1A. Lena Winslow, the number 1 team at Forreston. I know Forreston's 5-3, but Matt, that's always a big showdown in the NUIC every year. Camp Point Central, again, they're 8-0. They take on Hardin Calhoun, who's 5-3 going into this week. So again, interesting matchup there. I talked about Athens. Athens takes on Maroa. Obviously, a big ball game there as well. Maroa 8-0 on the year. Athens 7-1. Fulton again. They are at Dakota. Dakota's 5-3. I mentioned Greenfield Northwest earlier. They're taking on Jacksonville Route. Route is 6-2. So again, another nice matchup there. And Matt, I know you also want to touch a little bit on a team that's 1A, 2A, kind of bubbly in Arthur Lovington.
Yeah, Arthur Lovington, Atwood Hammond. So they go by ALAH. I think the most noticeable thing about them is they do have the bell cow. I mean, they have the guy that gets the attention, and his name is Caden Fegan. He's the Illinois commit, 6'2", 230. Benches about 350 pounds. Got a 37-inch vertical. So he's kind of like their cowbell. Their quarterback, running back out of their spread game. 116 carries for over 1,400 yards, 23 touchdowns, 37 out of 62 for about 450 yards passing. But he also plays defense, 62 tackles, a couple of interceptions, a fumble recovery. But, this isn't a one-man team. This team plays hard. I think kind of the Fegan kid, I think he gets a lot of attention, and obviously so, but he's a really good teammate. He keeps pushing kids, and he keeps people accountable. But they got some other players, Coach. They got Jace Parsons, a 6'2" running back, about 175 pounds soaking wet. He has 27 carries for about 276 yards, but he also catches the ball, and 23 catches for over 320 yards. And then Landon Waldrop, he's another running back. He's kind of a hybrid type of player, receiver, running back. 33 carries for about 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and then he has about 140 yards of catching the ball, and he also plays defense. So they're really good. They're defensive players: Cody Cornwall, Noah Garrett, Drew Cotton, all linebacker type of players. The Cornwall kid's a defensive lineman. But here's a team that if they get 2A, I think they're going to be a good, solid team. But if they get 1A, watch out. And right now they're kind of at that number where we don't know what that 1A number is going to be. But tip your hat out to Arthur Lovington and Atwood Hammond, that co-op, and just a shout out to my friend Mitch Wilson. He's an assistant coach there, and I thank him for all of his help with all this stuff too.
All right, there you go. So again, Class 2A, going over the results from last week. Really The only loss, and I wouldn't necessarily even call this an upset, Matt. Carmi White County lost to Johnson City 37-28, a close game. Carmi White County was ranked one slot above Johnson City. So two very good teams are obviously taking on each other, and it's a close ball game. Some big games for sure, as we mentioned in 2A. Maroa Forsyth are on the road at Athens. Again, that's an 8-0 versus a 7-1 on Friday night. Also, Tri-Valley at El Paso 6-2 on the year, so that's a good matchup. And then also, so I'm sorry, that's really, those are the two real big matchups in 2A. And Matt, I know you've got some more information again on the number one ranked team in 2A in Decatur St. Therese.
Well, yeah, just like I said, they're just a very, very solid team. I mean, the one thing about Mark Ramsey, they call him kind of one of the sharpest guys in the state of Illinois. Here's a guy that, when he was at Central A&M, just did things out of the double tight, double wing, ran a lot of belly and a lot of counter and all those things. But, he's evolved with the game. He's like everybody, we've all kind of learned and stole things. We're all running stuff out of power or out of gun and running spread game and power and quarterback counter and all that stuff. He's just doing that now. And everybody thinks he's just like this. He just stole it, no, he's just conformed. He's adjusted to the game. And so tip your hat off to him. He's one of the best coaches in the state. I think Josh Roop, at Tri-Valley might be a team you can watch out for. They got a big slobber knocker rain-soaked game against Eureka at Downs Tri-Valley. Quarterback Andy Knox scored the only touchdown, but Logan Petrelli had a really big fumble recovery, and then Blake Renegald, he's another one of those running backs. And so, again, Roop has a great team. Coach Kennedy is one of the defensive coordinators over there. They did a good job of slowing down this Eureka team that started the season off 6-2. Now they're 6-0. They started off 6-0. Now they're 6-2. So they've had a couple tough losses. But Eureka, you can't keep your head. Don't have your head down. You've lost to Lexington, Ridgeview, and Tri-Valley, two teams that have great football tradition. And so, but tip your hat off to Tri-Valley Vikings. It could be a team that you'd watch out for in Class 2A.
Yeah, again, as we mentioned, 3A, the only real loss, as you already talked about, Eureka lost 6-0 to Tri-Valley. So, again, really not a whole lot of shakeup in 3A. But, Matt, I know you wanted to talk. Let's talk a little bit. We'll go a little Southern Illinois action. You want to talk a little bit about the Mount Carmel Golden Aces, who, by the way, Blaine Sisson, did he have a day Saturday or what for Mount Carmel? He had a ridiculous day.
Yeah, why don't you go give the stats on that?
You know what? Give me a minute. Also, you want to talk about Benton as well.
Yeah,
I've got some stats on Blaine. I can dig them up here.
Yeah, that's fine. This Session kid is really good. He's a junior quarterback. He kind of came out of nowhere last year. Mount Carmel, Coach Brewer, thank you for all the information that you've given me over the last couple of years. Gage Kennard, I think, is a running back linebacker. He's a senior, so obviously a leader. And then Andrew, I think Gillahan, he's a wide receiver, defensive back. And so him and Session, they really work well together. Here's a team in Mount Carmel that for the longest time didn't have a conference. They had to play games in Indiana, and they continue to just prosper and do things down there in their legendary Snake Pit. They have all that tradition and everything like that. So watch out for them. That could be a team that could maybe make some noise in Class 3A in the South. In terms of the Benton Rangers, they're basically kind of led by Wyatt Upton, their running back. He kind of makes them go. He's a senior. They're pretty solid defensively. Sophomore Tiffin Kuzukas.
Sure, go with that.
He's continuing to get better and better and better. They're going to close out the season at home against Anna Jonesboro, and they have won their fourth consecutive SIRR Ohio Division Championship.
Yeah.
So, they do continue to do great things. And, offensively, Grant Owens is a wide receiver. He's a little bit younger. The Upton kid, like I said, defensively, they're They're led by Lucas Wilson, inside linebacker. Outside backer is that Wyatt Upton kid, so he's pretty good. And then Jake Kinsman is a senior linebacker. And these guys are all returning starters from last year's team. So they've done a great job of just stepping into leadership roles this season. And, you know, this Wyatt Upton kid, he's averaging over 100 yards on the ground. And the Owens is the leading wide receiver. And, you know, this Kazunkas kid at quarterback, he's replacing the All-State Keegan Glover at quarterback.
Yeah,
so
right.
he's really kind of embraced this leadership role on the team, and they just get better and better every day in practice and every game. And the offensive line is really starting to kind of gel. So they're led by that offensive line with Hunter Moss. He's a senior. So they got some leadership. They got some age about them in certain spots. So, you know, watch out for these Benton teams and these Mount Carmel teams. You know, no one hears about them, but it's good football.
You ready? You ready for the stats for Blaine Sisson from Mount Carmel on Saturday? So they played. We talked about this in a previous podcast. Marion Central Catholic from Woodstock made the trip down to the Snake Pit. Played there Saturday. Golden Aces come away with a huge win. Blaine Sisson, senior quarterback from Mount Carmel. You ready? 12 of 12 passing, 305 yards, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Now that alone's a huge day. Then you throw in 20 carries, 148 yards, 5 touchdowns. 5.
Yeah.
9 touchdowns total. This kid's been doing this all year.
Yeah.
The Golden Aces. He really has. And again, gotten to know him a little bit through the recruiting stuff, and we talk on DM, and just really happy for him. I actually nominated him this week for the Chicago Bears Player of the Week. Fingers crossed. We'll find out Thursday whether he wins it or not. But there were some other members of the media and that committee that looked at those numbers and said, yeah, it's going to be hard to go against that kid for sure. What a great game.
Just great football tradition, too. You know, not only do they have the legendary Snake Pit, you know, but Darren Peach, you know, when he was the coach there, you know, they just did great things. You know, I mean, this is a very proud community when it comes to their football. And, you know, so tip your hat off to Blake and, you know, tip your hat off to Coach Brewer. You know, they're continuing to do things that they've done. And, you know, just tip your hat off to them, you know.
Yes, there's more than Tyra Buss than Mount Carmel Athletics.
Exactly.
Just
exactly.
That out
but
there.
But I think
she was great, though. Don't get me wrong.
Don't get me wrong.
Great.
But I think there is a Buss as the athletic director. So
she's a great she was a great player, though.
Yeah, she was. She was really
outstanding. Good. All right, Class 3A wanted to mention. There's a little game in Class 3A Friday. It is Immaculate Conception hosting Wheaton St. Francis. Little game. Guess where I'm going to be Friday?
Well, I would assume you're going to be there.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
I've had that one circled since the preseason.
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
Physical football and Coach, what's his last name? Coach McCullum.
You talk Coach McMillan from Wheaton St. Francis. Bobby.
He'll have a great game plan, and you know,
crafted IC. So.
IC will be ready. I mean, just physical football, and you know, what are you going to say? I mean, it's probably going to be one in the trenches, and also probably a big game on special teams or a big sudden chance.
Yeah, it's
big something will happen.
Every time these two play, it's close. It's hard fought. It's exactly what you would expect, and that's what we're going to see. There are some other big games, by the way, I want to point out in 3A this week. Prairie Central, they're hosting Bloomington Central Catholic. BCC is at 6-2, so that's certainly a big game. Williamsville, they're hosting Auburn. Auburn 6-2. Interesting note about Seneca this week. Again, Seneca having a great season, 8-0. They've pitched 5 shutouts in a row defensively, so that's an impressive stat going into Week 9. And then Tolono Unity, they're home hosting 5-3 Monticello. And Matt, you know that's a big game every year.
No, that'll be a big one. Coach Hamilton's obviously, after the first loss, they're on a 7-game winning streak. He'll have his hands full. Coach Welder kind of took one on the chin against Prairie Central, and I know just from talking to people at Prairie Central, Drew Habercorn is the quarterback. Drew Fair is the running back for Prairie Central. Interesting. I've talked to you about that. Will Prairie Central go south or will they go north? If they go south, I think they're a formidable opponent to get to make a run and have a chance to be in the state championship game. But if they go north, it might be a little bit more difficult for them. But it's going to be interesting because, Bloomington Central Catholic, a proud school, a 6-2. They've done some good things too, So I think it's going to be really kind of the tail of the tape is going to happen here on Friday night. Some of these teams, to see kind of what happens.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You take a look at 4A, as we mentioned, really not a whole lot of upset, not a whole lot of major games coming in week 9. I don't know. Fortunately or fortunately, depending upon how you look at it, Sacred Heart's going to remain number 1. You're not going to see very much change at all in the week 8 final AP polls. The only loss was Breese Central. They lost to a Columbia 28-27, so a 1-point loss. 1 week it's Columbia leading that conference, and next week it's Breese Central. So, Matt, that's been going back and forth all year long. And, again, no huge upset or huge surprise there. But, again, that 4A has definitely is probably as stable as any class when it comes to the top teams winning out. And it's continued that way all the way, looks like, through week 9.
Yeah, I'd like to send a shout-out to Scott Horner down to Columbia, though. Here's a guy that has done really well over the years. And, so we're going to kind of see what kind of materializes out of 4A. Will Macomb be that team that'll be coming out of 4A? Will Columbia? They're going to be teams that are going to probably be kind of like, kind of be a dark horse team because we know, the top dogs in 4A, and we know the top dogs in 4A in the North. But it'll be really interesting to see again what happens with, there's a lot of football to be played here on Friday night that will fluctuate these numbers because we have a lot of 4-4 teams and 5-3 teams, so some of these teams are going to be 6-3, some are going to be 5-4s. Some of those 5-4s will push some of those other 5-4s down, and the whole thing could be just flipped upside down like a bad pancake. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So we'll see what's going to happen because that number, that number in 1A kind of fluctuates, and I think that kind of dictates everything.
One of them, probably the biggest question I'm going to ask you tonight, and I think it's important. Have you ever had a bad pancake ever?
No, I haven't. But
I haven't either. I've never ew, I don't like this.
But one of my pancake memories was back in the day. This is a childhood memory. We went in downtown Woodhall, Illinois.
Okay. Which
is about 15 miles north of Galesburg. Woodhall's between Galesburg and the Quad Cities, and I lived in Woodhall, Illinois, which is Alwood High School, which co-ops with Cambridge, which now forms Ridgewood, and the 8-man team led by Pat Elder. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But we went to the Sunrise Cafe in downtown Woodhall, and we would call it the Sometimes Cafe because we didn't know whether it was open. Sometimes it was open, sometimes it wasn't. So we go in there, me and my dad are sitting down, and I'm getting ready to have breakfast, and the lady tells my dad, "Well, Bill, it's going to be a while because we can't get the pancake off the grill." So that was kind of a bad sign, but you know what? I was a little kid, and I ate that pancake with a lot of butter and syrup, and I was pretty happy. So that was my only pancake story I can think of.
I mean, okay, obviously, I can see.
So, EDGYTIM, pancakes or waffles? Pancakes or waffles?
If you burn one, that would be bad.
Yeah.
Right. That I get. I can see that.
Pancakes or waffles? I'm asking you, pancakes or waffles?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Well, I gotta preface this by saying that Dave Dwyer, who works at WJOL, he's the play-by-play guy. He's actually a rep for a waffle company. So if I don't say anything other than waffles, I'll probably never hear from him ever again. But personally, between you and me, pancakes.
Okay. How about
if I have to pick, pancakes?
But here's something I like. So Dave will like this answer for me. I like waffles with peanut butter on them and syrup. Now try it.
A little weird, but I've heard stranger.
How about, okay, so now we got to just flip it here. We got to go to the side. Bacon or sausage?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, I got you. Okay. A little bit of both.
I don't say no to either. I'll never say no to sausage ever.
And cold milk. Cold
milk. That's a natural. but bacon has to be cooked a certain way for me.
Okay, and what?
I can't do underdone bacon, but I can't do burnt bacon. Does that make sense?
So
Kind of in the middle.
You want it done just right.
Kind of.
There's nothing.
I mean, even I would rather have overcooked bacon versus undercooked bacon, if that makes sense.
Are you frustrated with inflation and how much bacon costs, EDGYTIM?
Yeah, I'm frustrated with everything, how much everything costs these
But
days.
bacon is a son
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
I know, 100%. Wow, now we're getting economic talk. Wow. Here's one thing I want to get into before we wrap up, and I'm very proud of you. We're like just over 30 minutes.
Very good. Hey, which by the way, I do want to say, and I have the announcements on the savory 16 and the pork chops will be condensed down on Saturday. I think on your show.
I think I'll be there. Yeah, Should I sneak you some savory 16 information?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I would never do that. I'm under oath or something. I raise my hand or do something. I don't know. I have to pledge allegiance to somebody. I don't know. So I'm working on a story for, by the way, I'm doing stuff now for Marquee Sports Network in Chicago. That's the Cub Network. Cool. They're going to start doing preps, which I think is a really good thing. Get another TV entity starting to do some stuff. So that's exciting. And one of the stories I'm working on are teams you don't want to see in your draw. Who's the one team in that class that you just don't want to draw? Now, obviously, we're all presuming teams to be in certain classes. We won't know for sure until Saturday night. But I went through and did it for all 8 classes. So I'm going to throw you my 4A through 1A teams that you just don't want to see. If I'm Matt Leng and I'm coaching and I got my 9-0 cupcake team, sure. I don't want to see these teams pop up in my draw in the first round. You ready? So in 4A, there's really 2 of them. And I know you're a little more 3 and below centric, but let me run these 2 4A by you. Marengo is a team that plays in a very good conference, obviously, very battle tested. You know, they're going to wind up probably, I believe, a 5-4 or a 6-3. Josh Holst might be one of the best quarterbacks in the state that a lot of people aren't aware of. That's a scary team as a say they wind up being maybe a 14 or a 15. That's a scary team, I think, in 4A. And the other one I have, and again, it depends on projections and it depends on what they do. They're 4-4 right now. But this is a team, Matt, that historically, when they get in the playoffs as a 5-4, they might be the most dangerous team in the field. Providence Catholic could very well wind up in 4A. And if they do as a 5-4, they're going to beat some people along the way. So
sure.
Those are my 4A. 3A, you'll like this one. We mentioned this team has a big game on Friday, and they could wind up 5-4. And if they do, man, if I'm in 3A, this is the last team in the world I want to see. How about Monticello?
Yeah. You kind of
not a good team to draw first round.
No. Well, you kind of stole mine, and I will just say this.
Sorry.
No, but that's fine because the second they're kind of my second team.
Who's the other?
First team, I think in 3A, I think Monticello, but also too like a Genoa Kingston.
Yeah.
I think a team that kind of comes out of that neck of the woods that's kind of gotten beaten up, or I shouldn't say beaten up, but kind of been battle tested by the Stillmans and the Byrons of the world.
100% agree.
I think in 2A, a team that you could kind of watch out for is another Coley Welter disciple, a close friend of mine, and that's Toby Vallis in Farmington. You know, watch out for them. And then I think in 1A,
go ahead.
I think in 1A, I think it's just hands down. You do not want to play Athens. It is double tight, wing T, 2 wing backs. The bell cow is the fullback. Ryan Knox knows what he's doing. They're the one team. They're the one team in the Sagamo that has been on the doorstep and has not made it to the state championship. And I can tell you from my interactions with him, he's wonderful to me. But from our interactions with them playing in week 3, that was our first big game at Olympia. We had them down 8-0 at halftime. And again, I'm low fruit on the tree, but I told our coaches, I was like, newsflash, they're not going to do anything different because they don't know anything different. And that is, they're going to run their Alonzo Stagg, Newt Rockney offense right at you and just say, hey, here's what we do. And they did. And they beat us. And they beat us 21-8. And they're 7-1. Now, I think they'll get beat by Maroa, but I think
7-2. Yeah. I think everyone.
But they'll punch Maroa in the nose. And Athens will be a very formidable opponent in Class 1A. And I think they'll win a couple games. And I think they'll be a quarterfinal team.
So I'll give you my team in 2A, and obviously I have no disagreement with what you selected whatsoever. But I mean, I see a team like Sterling Newman Central Catholic. I don't want to see them in round one. I just don't. I don't want to see that team pop up. I don't care what their record is. You know what they're capable of. You know that they're going to be very well coached and they'll be ready for whatever. So. Sure. That's a team you don't want to see in 2A. And then 1A, there's a couple. I mean, just the name alone, Bloomington Central Catholic. I mean, you don't want to see that in the south part. And then in the north part, a team that always seems to be lower seeded because of their competition and who they play. Aurora Christian, always very capable. And again, the only unfortunate thing for Aurora Christian is that for whatever reason, they end up running into Lee Win. So, if you can get past that, you can get past running into them in the first round. Aurora Christian can compete with a lot of teams there.
Well, and I will say this. Bloomington Central Catholic will fight Prairie Central hard. Prairie Central will beat them.
Right.
But if you're a 6-3 Bloomington Central, let's take that back. I'll preface this by this. If I'm a 9-0, 7-8-1, 7-2 team in 1A, and I got to take on Bloomington Central Catholic.
Yeah.
You better be ready to play.
That's one of those, like if you're watching like the NCAA bracket show and you have the team sitting watching and that pops up, it's going to be, you're not going to have a lot of like crazy cheers going on. It'll be like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh my God. You see who we're playing first round? Oh my God.
Yeah. That's your, I don't know who that would be in the NCAA tournament. That would be somebody.
Well, that would be like, drawing like Duke in the first round. Yay.
Yeah. That'd be your Wichita State mid-major. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like, oh boy, this is not going to be easy. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt. But yeah, that's obviously the fun. We'll have all kinds of bracket talk next week. We'll break down. We'll give you our winners. We'll give you some top first round games and matchups, and we'll have it. Again, we'll go back to our Wednesday recording schedule. We'll have it out Wednesday night. This will be out on Wednesday, recording it today on Tuesday.
Sure, absolutely.
So looking forward to it. A lot to look forward to. Playoff action. I'm thrilled to be in Elmhurst on Friday night and go and watch two of the better small enrollment private schools going at it head to head. And then excited for the rest of the season. And depending upon how the schedule goes, I might wind up at a 2A or a 3A or even a 1A. Because I always like getting that extra game in. And if I find a schedule that fits where I can go one on that afternoon game on a Saturday and get close to another game, Matt, I'll do it.
Yeah. No, that'd be nice. Yeah.
Definitely will. All right, Pell, you got anything else you want to add?
Well, we've covered food. We've done food 2 weeks in a row. So, other than that, I don't think there's too much to cover. It'd be really interesting to see we've talked about this weather, and I know last night, that was a big deal, for our kids to play in the snow. We enjoyed it. It kind of got us all riled up, and, we won our JV.
I can't believe you had snow.
Yeah, we had snow. It was just a sputtering, spitting, kind of a rain snow.
We had a few flurries here this morning, and that's all I've seen so far.
So it's just going to be really interesting because it's going to be, I don't know what's going to be like up there, but down here on Friday night.
Hope get nice.
It's going to be 70 degrees.
Yeah,
today.
Here too.
It'll be 50 at game time. Saturday is probably your last great day to go do something out in the yard or go to the orchard and not freeze your butt off.
Yeah.
So, go do that on Saturday. But, I don't know. We're just looking forward to it. I can't wait for the matchups to come out. And
I'm with you.
A lot of fun things happening right now.
All right. For him, It's Matt Leng. I'm EDGYTIM. Thanks, everybody. Looking forward to breaking down the first round of the IHSA playoffs next week on the playoff edition of Third and Leng. Who knows? We might even sneak in a guest here and there as well when we're doing our playoff show.
Week 10 will be here Saturday night, Selection Saturday. It's the best night of the year for high school football.
100%.
And for all the powers that do this, like for you and IHSA and everybody, we tip our hats off to you guys, and it's wonderful. And I'm glad I get to be a part of it. I'm glad I get to be a part of it, Tim. Thank you for everything you've done.
Love doing it. All right, everybody. Have a great week. Go see a game, and we'll talk to you next week.